Hey everyone, welcome to Adventures in Everyday Cooking, where every day can be an adventure in your kitchen. My name is Heather, and today's adventure is gonna help you get rid of your Thanksgiving leftovers. Okay, I know some of you sent them home with Aunt Margaret and Uncle Tim or whatever, but some of us have way too much leftovers to utilize. So over the last couple videos and this video and maybe another one, I'm gonna show you how to utilize some of those leftovers. So this recipe is gonna utilize the stuffing. Now I made way too much stuffing. This was my first time having Thanksgiving with my in-laws, and I was in charge of the stuffing, and I made like 4 times too much stuffing. So I am inundated with stuffing. So I thought that I would share with you my Swedish meatball recipe using leftover stuffing. Are you ready for this adventure? Let's get started. If you're gonna cook with me, you're gonna need 1 cup of leftover stuffing. Make sure it's already seasoned and it has its celery and onion inside. 1 pound of ground meat. I'm gonna use ground beef, but you can use ground turkey, ground pork, whatever you want. 2 tablespoons of butter, 1/4 of a teaspoon of allspice, salt and pepper to taste. Now for the sauce, you're gonna need 4 tablespoons of butter, 1/4 of a cup of flour, 2 cups of chicken stock or turkey stock, whatever you have, 1 cup of half and half, 1/2 a tablespoon of Worcestershire sauce, 1/2 a teaspoon of thyme, 1/2 a teaspoon of salt and pepper, and 1/2 a teaspoon of ground nutmeg. All right, if you are making this alongside me, go ahead and get your noodles ready to go. So get the water boiling and we'll get the noodles in. They're gonna take about 10 minutes, and this should take only about 10 minutes to come together as a whole. Now, so what we have in this bowl is all of our stuffing and all of our ground meat. What we're gonna add to it is our allspice. So I'm gonna go ahead and start combining this, and basically we're just gonna use our hands. Once those leftover stuffing pieces are all in there, then I will go ahead and sprinkle in the allspice so that it kind of goes everywhere. I just don't want it to be in like one lump and then I'd have this like big bite of allspice. So I kind of opened all of it up like that, and I'm just gonna sprinkle it in. That way now when I continue to knead this all together, it will all get together. Now we're gonna also add some eggs to this. I'm doubling this recipe, which is why I have 2 eggs, but we're gonna go ahead and add the 2 eggs to this as well. And we're just gonna get that all mixed in. Now, if you were not making this from scratch, you could, I'll include a recipe where you don't have to use the leftover stuffing and it's just a regular Swedish meatball recipe. You're gonna wanna put thyme and salt and pepper and all sorts of other stuff in it. But since your stuffing is already seasoned, don't add any extra salt or pepper because you definitely don't want them to be over salted. All right, so now it's time to portion out these meatballs. What I have here is the Pampered Chef scoop. You don't have to use a scoop, but I like to do it because then I can kind of do it really fast and then I'll mold them all at the same time. So what I'll do here is I will just portion them out, and sometimes I have a helper in the kitchen that will actually do the the balling for me. But today it's just me. So I'm just gonna portion these out, and then right before they go into the pan, I will put them in balls. Alternately, you could make these meatballs in the air fryer. Maybe I will do a set for the air fryer so you can see the difference. All right, so looks like 2 pounds of hamburger made 34 meatballs. Now I'm gonna go ahead and get my burner started. We're gonna turn it on, I don't know, medium high, we'll say. Get that started. And inside this skillet, I have 2 tablespoons of butter, and the butter is so that nothing sticks, or as little stick as possible. And so while that is melting, we're gonna multitask and make our balls like that. So yeah, we're just gonna wait for that to melt, and then we're gonna get our meatballs right in. If you are making these for the freezer, just ball them up, get them into a freezer safe container or a vacuum seal bag. Just make sure if you use a vacuum sealer that you freeze these. So like flash freeze them, because if you put these in soft like this, they'll just go squish, and then you won't have meatballs. You'll have like mush. So once you see it start to melt a little bit, we're just gonna dump our meatballs right in, and we're gonna want to cook these fully. So some recipes will have you cook it in the sauce, but I like my sauce to be kind of pure, if that makes sense. I don't want any of those brown bits inside my sauce. I'm gonna go ahead and turn the temperature down to medium, just because I don't want anything to burn. And alternately, you could use olive oil or some other oil in your pan if you are not a fan of butter. You could also use a gluten-free stuffing mix. This is not a gluten-free stuffing mix. That would work just fine as well. This is a really great versatile recipe. You just have to remember cup per pound. So 1 cup of leftover stuffing per 1 pound of meatballs. All right, I feel like it's time for us to start flipping. So let's go ahead and start from over here. Oh yeah, we're already getting some great color on those. And you're gonna want to flip them on all sides. So we want all sides of these to cook. So that means we're gonna probably flip them about 4 times. So what I'm gonna do for the air fryer is I'm gonna set my air fryer for 400. I'm gonna let it preheat for just a couple minutes. Air fry, let's let it preheat for like 5 minutes. All right, so on my air fryer tray, I am just gonna put my meatballs like this. Now, I have a feeling they're gonna stick just a little bit, and if I spray the tray, they might not stick, but usually, because of the way that this tray is, they're definitely going to stick. So, actually, I have a better idea. I am going to put the Pampered Chef toaster oven stone here and cook my meatballs on the stone, because then I know that they're not going to stick, because this thing is amazing. There we go. Oh man, that's looking amazing. These meatballs are almost done in the pan. All right, now that this is preheated, I'm gonna go ahead and push cancel. I'm gonna go to custom 350 for 8 minutes. And then we're gonna get these guys right in. All right, the air fryer is done, and these guys are just about done as well. Let's just set it there. I wanna check the temps, just so that I know that they came to at least a medium rare temperature. They are at 140 right now. So if you did a turkey meatball, definitely leave them in there another couple minutes, but as you can see, 8 minutes later, these guys are done. And we will go ahead and get these guys out of the pan. Now we're ready to put together our sauce. This doesn't take very long. You just need to kind of follow the process. And let's go ahead and get our burner back on to medium. And we're gonna get our butter in. And as soon as it's melted, we're gonna add in our flour, and we're gonna cook that flour out about 1 to 2 minutes, depending on how hot your burner is. It doesn't take that long. We're basically just cooking that flour taste off. And we're cooking a raw product, because flour is a raw product and it can contain bacteria that you just wanna cook out, which is why they say not to eat raw cookie dough, but I do anyway, because I'm rebellious like that. All right, once you see it start to melt almost completely, so what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna add a little bit of this flour, and I'm gonna whisk it around and just keep going until we create this nice paste. And we don't want it to clump up, because we want our sauce to be as smooth as humanly possible. If you were gluten-free and making this, you could just use some gluten-free flour. That would be totally acceptable. I have done it with Bob's Red Mill 1-to-1 baking flour for this exact recipe, and it does indeed work. The rice flour doesn't usually thicken things like the cornstarch does, and you could probably just use cornstarch as well, but I used Bob's Red Mill. Okay, so the next thing we're gonna do while we are stirring this, we're gonna add our chicken stock, beef stock, or whatever stock you have. So I'm gonna add a little bit of chicken, and then I'm gonna whisk it together. See how it's already thickening up? A little bit more, whisk it up. All right, let's whisk this until we see no more lumps anywhere. All right, and once you see no more lumps, we're gonna add our seasonings, which is our thyme, our nutmeg, our salt, and our pepper. And I know for a fact, it's delicious. Okay, the noodles are out and in the pan. Okay, when we start to see those bubbles start to form, that's when we're gonna add our half and half. Now, if you don't have half and half, but you have leftover heavy cream from Thanksgiving, half heavy cream, half milk, that's half and half. That's what I have in here. So we're gonna add a little bit at a time. All right, once it's all incorporated, we're just going to let it come to a simmer until thickened. What does that mean? That's up to your heart. You just kind of are gonna wanna stick a spoon or your finger, don't stick your finger, it's hot, and just decide how thick you want it. The more you let it simmer, the hotter it will be. And we're gonna stir it every couple minutes as it simmers so that we can check the consistency, because on your whisk, you should be able to see the consistency really well. Okay, we're gonna call it good. That looks nice and thick and absolutely beautiful. So you can do two things. You can go ahead and stick these meatballs right in, which, you know, why not? And I wanted to show you, if you look at these meatballs, unless you knew where I put which meatball, you can't tell which one was done in the air fryer and which one was done in the pan. So whichever way works best for you, that's the way that you should do it. You can also do them in the oven. Same temperature, not the same time though. You might want to jack up your temperature a little bit for the same time, but whatever. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're just going to pop these right in, and I'm going to save some of these for my freezer, so I'm not going to put them all in, but I'm going to put a good healthy amount in because I have lots of sauce here. And I'm just going to take my little spoon here and cover my meatballs, and oh man, this looks so good. If you are a Swedish meatball lover, you'll never buy them at IKEA again. Okay, that's a lie. Even I would buy them at IKEA again. Oh, I forgot. Let's add the Worcestershire. I'm sure it will be fine that the meatballs are already in there. Don't forget your Worcestershire before you add the meatballs. It'll be easier for you to mix together. My bad. All right, and there we go. Let's get this served. Now, if this was a true leftover meal, you would definitely use your mashed potatoes. This on top of mashed potatoes is so delicious. That's the only way to eat it aside from egg noodles. So what I have here is just some egg noodles that I will pour onto my platter and arrange like so. And then we're gonna spoon this right over the top. Look at this. Look at how deliciously creamy these Swedish meatballs look. And of course, more cream sauce. And if you have some fresh parsley, now's the time. Sprinkle your fresh parsley. I'll put a little dried parsley on there. It's not the same, but at least it'll give it a little bit of pop of color. And look at that. Swedish meatballs made from leftover Thanksgiving Day stuffing. Okay, time to eat and show you what's on the inside. Let's cut into our meatballs first. So good. So those of you who like medium rare, these are the perfect meatballs. See, there's a little pink left in them. Oh my, that is so good. And that sauce, oh, those are melt in your mouth. Delicious. Now, if you had mashed potatoes and a little lefse, your grandma would be like, ooh, who made the meatballs? And you could say, it was me, Grandma. But with noodles, it tastes just as good. So if you're a fan of Swedish meatballs, this ticks every box. This is somewhat non-traditional, obviously, because we use stuffing from Thanksgiving turkey, which included thyme and rosemary. So that's not traditionally a Swedish meatball flavor. But you guys, you'll never even know the difference. And people who are Swedish meatball purists will enjoy this recipe and this cream sauce and just everything there is about this recipe. So if you got stuffing in your refrigerator right now that you're like, what on earth am I gonna do with this? Maybe make some meatballs for your freezer or maybe for dinner tonight. You can also freeze extra stuffing. Let me show you. You can also freeze extra stuffing in your food saver machine. and I portioned it out to 2 cups so that if I wanted to make meatballs again sometime in the future that aren't already made because I didn't have enough beef to do that, it's all ready for me. All I have to do is defrost it, get it into my meat, and do everything I just did, and it's already ready to go. So if you don't have a food saver machine, here's your sign, it's time. And that's it for me. That is all I'm gonna say. This is an amazing recipe. I hope you're gonna utilize your Thanksgiving leftovers and make this either for your freezer or for dinner tonight. All right, you guys, if you enjoyed that video, give it a like, share it with your friends, and subscribe to my channel. I do videos several times a week, and I'm always looking for the next adventure. I love leftover recipes. If you have a favorite leftover utilization recipe, hit me up. I love to utilize leftovers because I hate food waste. I am not a fan. So I oftentimes repurpose our leftovers to a new exciting meal. Sometimes they make it here on the channel, sometimes they don't. So tag me in the comments, let me know what your favorite leftover next day meal is. And maybe that will be my next adventure. All right, you guys, we'll see you on the next one. Bye.